And welcome to another episode of the Let's Talk Fabulous with Tamara Hunter show. But of course, no, I am your guest host, Kim O'Neill. And today we're going to be talking about Chicken Soup for the Soul stories. I'm so excited for today's conversation. Let's hear from our digital sidekick, Renee.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Don't know why that happens sometimes. Let's hear from Renee.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's fabulous.
Okay, well, we're going to flow with it. So let's go ahead and bring up our panelists one by one. We're going to get to see them and get to hear from them. So hello and welcome, everybody.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good.
So good to see you.
Yeah. So we were just talking about, just tech flowing beautifully, right? And then it's fun how we get surprised by some little things. Not sure why things switch up like that. So we're here today to talk about Chicken Soup for the Soul stories. Who has their copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul with them?
I do.
Yeah. Oh, goody. And I have more than this. I know there's like a whole bunch out there. You probably all have more too. Today is November 12th, and in the US, that is National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day. And what better time of year than November, Thanksgiving, gratitude in the US anyway. I know Canada, we've got some Canadians on today's show. You all had your Thanksgiving. I just thought this was a great conversation to really have, and at this time in the world. So what came up? I want to just throw it out there generally. What came up for each of you when you first heard about this Chicken Soup for the Soul episode I was going to do?
I thought it was really cool. I didn't even know there was a day dedicated to it. I mean, but whatever. There's a National Carrot Day. There's a National Eat Your Shoe Day. So it makes sense. There should be a National, Chicken Soup for the Soul Day. Yeah.
I know. I agree. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any initial thoughts they wanted to share here?
Well,
I was blown away.
Really cool. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kathleen. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Well, I thought it was really cool because it was coming right before Thanksgiving. And of course, Chicken Soup for the Soul is telling everybody, be thankful for what you have, be grateful for what you have. And so I thought the timing on this was just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Awesome.
And again, being from Canada, we had our Thanksgiving earlier. And with the exchange rate, you guys get yours a little later. So that's the way it works out.
That's true.
But I remember living with Jack Canfield, when I was doing my Chicken Soup for the Soul book, and going through all the nuances of how do you pick a story? How do you turn down somebody gently when they wrote a great story, but it didn't make it in the book? So the fact that you guys have got a day here, and Tamara is hosting this with you as our guest host, Kim, it's just a benefit to everybody who's ever read a book.
Oh, thank you for that. Charmaine, did you want to add any initial thoughts?
Well, my dog has perfect timing. The story I wrote in Chicken Soup for the Soul, what I learned from the dog, was about my dog, Toby. So just before you turned it over to me, he had to get his 2 cents worth in. He's out there barking. So if you hear somebody loud, it's just the dog. It's Toby.
Yeah, that's what they all say. Okay.
Okay. So I love your all's energy today. This is fantastic. So glad to be here with you. Let's get into introducing each of you. So I want to go around and we'll start with Kathleen. She's to my, I guess, left on screen. And then we'll just go around. So Kathleen, Fran, Charmaine, and Barry. And each of you say your name, what you do, and where you are located so people get a feel for who you are.
Okay. My name is Kathleen Waldvogel, and I publish as KM just because my name is so long. It wouldn't fit on the book. But I split my time between Wisconsin and Arizona. Right now I'm in Arizona, and I'm grateful for that because the sun is out and it's a beautiful day and I'm loving it. And I'm a retired teacher. And once I retired, I decided to start writing a little bit more in depth. And so I've written some children's books. And then I'm also looking at Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I've had one of my stories published in that, which I'm so grateful for.
Awesome. Good to have you here, Kathleen.
Thank you.
And Fran, tell us about you.
Okay, well, let's see. I am a stand-up comic. I'm also the Guinness Book of World Records fastest talking woman in the world. I hold 10 world records I did a book signing at the top of Kilimanjaro. I did a book signing down by the wreck side of the Titanic, became the first woman to zip line inside an active volcano. I did a TEDx talk in 18 minutes and then redid the entire talk in under a minute. I've written 22 books. And let's see, I just became a Fran Ma, because I'm not going to be a grandma. I'm a Fran Ma. Okay. And the kid's got to get up. You know, he's 6 weeks old. He's slacking here. He's not doing.
Oh my God!
I just got back from doing a Via Ferrata, which is Iron Path, which was a 5-hour hike up these mountains, wooden paths, because I am in training to go to Vietnam and go into the world's largest cave in April. And I have a one-woman show called Love, Laughter, and Light, which has all the stories of the crazy things I've done in my life. And I write a humor column for a local paper. And I just got inducted into the National Comedy Hall of Fame. There you go.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Congratulations. Oh my, and Fran, I must have missed it. Where are you located?
And oh yeah, you did miss it. Wiki Wachi, Florida, where all the mermaids are from. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, it's not my native state, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, awesome to have you here, Fran. Charmaine, tell us about you.
I'm just from outside Toronto in Canada, and as I mentioned earlier, yes, it was Toby the dog that got me started on my writing journey. I have 5 traditionally published books, and I'm featured in 11 others. And the funny part of that is that all but one have nothing to do with what I do in my business. And what I do in my business is speaking and training on conflict resolution, leadership, and building healthy teams. I started my career out in jail. And on the outside of the bars, I was a correctional officer. So let me say that again. I was a correctional officer. I was not in there for behavior. But actually that career that I was in for about 10 years was what got me passionate about conflict resolution, and I became a mediator, and just an interesting path, like nearly everyone I've ever met has. How we get from where we were to where we are now is usually extremely interesting.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all that, Charmaine. And Charmaine and I share that in common, actually. So I have a law enforcement background too, and it's interesting where things take us from here to there. So love it. Okay, Barry, tell us about you.
I'm too shy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Actually, you're shy. Go ahead.
I'm Barry Spilchuk from Toronto, Canada. My roots are half Ukrainian, half Polish. So I'm going to need Charmaine's conflict resolution skills because I'm always at war with myself. So it's crazy. So I have the blessed. I've written 15 books. I've ghostwritten 1 book, a novel. I didn't even realize I had that in me. And now I help people authors write their first book. And so that's what I'm helping people do, and getting over the hurdles of, oh, who am I and what am I supposed to do? And, oh, is anybody going to read my book? And I had that when I co-authored, I invented a cup of chicken soup for the soul. And I went to Jack and Mark and said, hey guys, why don't we take chicken soup, shrink it down, call it cup of soup? And they went, we don't have time, you do it. Oh, great. And then it was like, so I put together this book, and I went to Jack's guest house and we were checking it over, and he closes the book and says, we're in trouble, Barry. And I said, what do you mean? He said, Barry, these are nice stories, but they're not chicken soup stories. And I went, oh, but I love you, man. He goes, whoa, ho. I love you. This is a business. So if you don't do this right, if it's not a chicken soup story, we're not going to release it. So he says, you can get back on track and stay here for a couple of weeks, or come back in 6 months. I stayed there for 2.5 months. Of course, 2.5 months in Santa Barbara versus 2.5 months in Canada in February. Yeah, the choice was pretty easy. So, and I'm just so honored to be here today and to have Tamara in the background and Kim, you as host. This is a great show. So thank you, ladies, for letting me be part of this panel.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to have all of you here today. The fun, the flow, the hope, the heart, the humor, everything that Let's Talk Fabulous and Tamara Hunter's about is all right here. So glad to be enjoying this with you today. I am going to go ahead and we're doing things a little out of sequence today. So we're going to play another quick video. We're going to come back with today's conversation. So here we go. Okay.
And we're back.
We're back. Let's talk. Okay. goodness. Okay, and let's get that little layout where we can. Whoa, there we go. I talked about this earlier. You sometimes see some of us pop into the mosh pit and pop out. And Barry shared some of the intro to how he got published in Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I think I'm going to go ahead and then parlay off that. And let's begin with Barry. Barry, I would love for you to share your story. I'm going to put you in the mosh pit.
Okay, this is so cool. Thank you. Well, I talked to Jack because I was the one who co-authored this book. And he says, no, you can put your own stories in there, especially since all the stories you have up till now have sucked. And I went, oh, okay. So it's always nice to be with your buddy and he tells you the truth, right? So anyway, I ended up putting 4 of my own stories in our book and a whole bunch of quotes and poems and everything. But the most popular story was my wife and I were going through a flat spot in our marriage. And we still loved each other, but it was kind of flat. And we, was like, hi, how are you? Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, okay, fine. And I'll work on the kids, you work on the business, vice versa, right? So we went to a state fair one day in Canada. It's called the Canadian National Exhibition. And I was trying to win her this big 6-foot-high white stuffed teddy bear so she could have something to snuggle with on the road, but not necessarily anything that moved around a whole lot, right? It's like, okay, here we go. There's an image of me you can have, right? And I didn't win. $30 later, I'm trying to throw a softball into a milk can and I'm not working. It's not working. And so the guy gave me a consolation prize and he gave me this stuffed little red heart. And there was actually 2 of them tied together. And so I didn't know what to do. So I broke one apart. I gave one to Karen. I kept one for myself and thought nothing of it. And then the flat spot, we got home all the way back to North Bay, Ontario. And the flat spot continued. And I didn't know what to do. Because I'm a guy, right? I'm not supposed to do it. But I started watching the infomercials at night on, light her fire, light his fire, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I said, well, if men are from Mars and women are from Venus, everybody's from Earth, just deal with it, come on. And then all of a sudden one day I'm going on a road trip and I open my luggage and there's this little red heart in my luggage. And I went, that's interesting. Where'd that come from? And I said, I called home. I said, she said, no, I put it there. And I went, oh, cool. So when I got home, I said, oh, maybe I should hide it too. So I hid it in her sock drawer and then she hides it in a drawer for me. And then I hid it in her underwear drawer. And then it took about 3 days to find it, which concerns me, 3 days on the, but I think it was tucked under the Sunday pair, but, and so we just kept doing this back and forth. And it was so cool. And then I kept looking for unique places to hide it. And then one day I get to Los Angeles because every 6 weeks I go down to LA for a week. I get to Los Angeles and I'm looking in my luggage for the heart and I can't find it. And then all of a sudden the next morning I go to take a shave and it pops out of the shaving lid of the cup. And I was like, oh my God, I've got a razor. I said, this is fun, but I got a razor. Like, this is crazy. So I'm saying, okay, I got to top that. What am I going to do? So the next trip to LA, I said, I've got it planned. I'm packing at 4 a.m. because the plane leaves at 6. She's still sleeping. The kids are sleeping. And I go into the freezer and I take out our next loaf of bread because that's where we kept it. And I go halfway down and I carve out a heart with a knife and I wrap this in saran wrap and then I put it back in the bread and then, I put it away. And little did I know, every time I went on a road trip, she would be searching for the heart as soon as she dropped me off at the airport. Like, where'd you put the heart? Right? So I get down to LA and I phone and I said, hey, how's it going? I'm here safe. And she goes, where's the heart? I said, you'll find it. Don't worry. And all of a sudden, that was Sunday night, and then Monday, Tuesday, all of a sudden Wednesday, I get back from teaching. I get to my hotel room. I found the heart in the bread. Thank you so much. I love you so much. And like, oh, yes, this works. And it was good. So it was like, it was all in an answer to somebody asked me, and the question once is, how do you develop a relationship? And I realized is you develop a relationship one moment at a time. Every time we hid the heart, it was a moment. Every time we found the heart, it was a moment. I became the heart guy. And wherever I would go, I would speak, whether it be a convention of underground miners or psychiatrists or wherever. I was chicken soup for the miner's soul, chicken soup for the psychiatrist's soul, wherever we would do that. I would leave, I would tell the story, and everybody would get a heart. And so this story could go on forever and ever, but I'll finish it off with this. I was invited to be the closing speaker at the World Volunteer Conference. It was being hosted in Canada. There was 2,700 people from 93 countries, 4 days, and the Prime Minister opened the conference, And then it was like Princess Zara Aga Khan opened the second day, and Helen Lieberman opened the third day. And like she was a Jewish woman who posed as a Catholic nun to stop apartheid. And then they needed a Canadian to close the conference, and Celine Dion and Wayne Gretzky were busy. So they said, go get that chubby chicken soup guy. Let him do it, right? So I'm just terrified. And, so I'm 4 days there, and it's like 2 days in, Karen says, hey, I wonder what it's going to be like when everybody gets the hearts. I said, hon, I didn't bring hearts. And she said, what are you talking about? She said, you're the heart guy. And I said, but hon, there's 2,700 people here. These cost me money. And she goes, hon, you're either the heart guy or you're not. And I said, you're right. I should have the hearts here. I'll bring them next time. She said, hon. I said, but hon, they're not paying me a lot. It's the World Volunteer Conference, and it's going to cost me $500 to ship them overnight. Hon, you're either the heart guy or you're not. I had them FedExed overnight, and when I was done my talk, everybody, 2,700 people from 93 countries got a red heart. And we went to dinner, we came back, and we were entertained by Natalie McMaster, a great Canadian East Coast music maven. She's amazing. And I walk in, and I do not like to exaggerate, because to me, exaggerate is a long word for lie, And so conservatively, 20% of the people, I think it was a lot more than that, but 20% of the people were wearing their heart either in a pocket or tucked around their sleeve. And because there's the heart guy, he's going to thank you for it. And it was one of the coolest moments. And it all started because of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. But before that, it was started because Karen said, I don't want the flatness to continue. So how do you develop a relationship? One moment at a time. So that was one of my stories from my Chicken Soup book. So.
Wow, that's a beautiful story.
That is so beautiful, so heartwarming. Thank you, Barry, for bringing that story and sharing it today. I want to just encourage our audience, if you enjoyed that story, please do share out the story with someone who could use some heartwarming remembrance of the little moments and the heart and everything. That was wonderful. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, Kim, can I add one last thing? On Wednesday. Sorry, I guess you didn't say yes, but on Wednesday.
Go ahead.
On Wednesday, we will be celebrating our 43rd anniversary. So,
nice.
So.
Congratulations!
Heart there, a giant-sized heart.
Yeah.
One of the volcanoes sit in a giant heart-shaped tub. Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that. By the way.
Yeah. Do I take my wife or like?
That would be
that would be good. That would be good.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I wasn't expecting this. I just want to sit here and savor that. I don't know about y'all. It's just that feels so good. That was so wonderful. Yep. Oh, okay. Who do we want to ping pong it to next? Okay, I don't see any hands, so I'm going to volunteer someone here. Fran, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Okay. All right. So the question was how we got into the book. So I was actually attending a conference, and the speaker up there was not keeping everybody too entertained. And so what happened was they said lunch. Everybody got up from their seats, and it was a buffet. And so there was a big line to where the buffet was. It was a long line and a short lunch. Everybody wanted to get to lunch. So along where the line was a bunch of tables where people were displaying different things. And one of the tables said chicken soup for the soul or whatever, chicken soup for the woman's soul. I just saw the word chicken soup. And I turned and I said, do you have chicken soup here? She said, no, this is not the food place. I said, oh, I was thinking that maybe you were selling chicken soup. I wouldn't have to stand on the line and I'll get the chicken soup. I said, so what are you doing? She goes, we're collecting stories. I go, what do you mean you're collecting stories? She goes, yeah, if you have a nice story you want to tell, you sit down, you tell it to me, and then you sign a release form, and then, maybe you'll get in a book. I said, well, how long do these stories have to be? She goes, I said, it's got to be short enough that I don't lose my place in line. She goes, yeah, okay. So I tell the person who's in the line, I go, listen, I'm about to tell a story. Just remember, I'm in front of you. Okay. All right. So now I sit down. She goes, what story do you want to tell? I said, well, what's the name of the book? She goes, it's for a book called Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. I said, you know what? Okay, this is the story I'm going to tell you. And so then I go into my story. I said, I'm a stand-up comic, and I was working at a radio station, WBLS FM in New York City, and I was writing comedy for them. And kidding around one day, I said, you know what? I could do a really cool Mae West impression, but I call the character June East, Mae West's long lost sister. So I was doing the weather and traffic one day, and the guy hands the weather and traffic copy to me. In radio, when the little red tally light comes on, there can't be any dead air. So when he hands it to me, I just went, today the weather and traffic is. And in the 30 seconds I happened to do it, a lady from the Daily News was listening. So she calls up the station and she says, oh, I'm doing a story on weather and traffic, people. How long you been doing it? Well, I wasn't going to tell her 30 seconds. I said, oh, I've been doing it a while. She said, well, what else do you plan on doing next? And I didn't have a next, but I had a lady from the Daily News. So I said, oh, I'm thinking of breaking a world record. And she goes, really? I said, yeah. She goes, for what? I didn't have a for what. So I said, oh, I can't tell you because it'll jinx it. She goes, listen, the story's got to go in by 6 o'clock tonight. If you decide that you want to let me know, give me a call. So I run out and buy a Guinness book. So I'm like looking through it, pogo sticking, what could I do? And I see fast talking. Well, all my life, people told me I talked that fast. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I had a show that night and I'm debating, should I call this lady? What should I tell her? So I call up Guinness and I said, what do you have to do to break the record for fast talking? They said something from Shakespeare or the Bible. Well, me and Shakespeare never got along, but I had a prayer from the Bible that my mother had taught me. So I'm debating. So I call the lady up at 5 to 6. I was supposed to go on stage and I call her up and I go, all right, listen, I'll tell you, I'm thinking of breaking the world record for fast talking. So she goes, what's the record at? I didn't know. So I'm looking through the book. I go, oh, the record is 552 words a minute. She goes, what are you at? I went, 550. Those last 2 words are a killer. So she prints it in the paper. And the very next day, the Larry King Live people call me up and ask me to go into the show and break the record.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I don't know who Larry King is. I just hear tape. So I said, is this some kind of porn? She goes, honey, no. This is a national show. I said, well, what if I don't break the record? She goes, Larry doesn't care whether you break the record or not. He just cares that you try it on his show first. All right. So I call up Guinness. I said, well, what's the record? They tell me the record, blah, blah. So I call her back. I said, all right. She goes, listen, we're going to have a limo at your house in 3 hours. 3 hours. I got 3 hours now to do it. So I'm taking the 91st Psalm that my mom had taught me, and I'm like, practicing it. He did all the secret place of the Most High. You smoke out of my head, whatever. I get to the studio. I break the record. At that time, like I said, it was 552 words a minute. I break the record to 585 words a minute, and they re-break the record at the Guinness Museum in Vegas doing 603.32 words a minute, which is 11 words a second. And that's how I broke my first world record. And that story called Just Say Yes and Figure It Out Later is the one that's on page 82 of this chicken.
Woo! Well, congratulations again for all of that. That was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the funny thing. Is like everything in my life goes by that philosophy. And so my TEDx talk, I talk about all my world records, and it's the 7 world record mindsets. And again, somebody will just say something. Hey, you want to do a book signing? I'll do a book signing at the top of Kilimanjaro. I just make up this stuff. And then I go, now, how do I do it? You just say yes. Now I got to figure it out. And so that's the philosophy. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So I want to make sure everyone knows today that, none of this, of course, is sponsored or endorsed by the Chicken Soup for the Soul franchise. This is merely done out of love and appreciation for the books, the purpose, the stories, all of that. And so I do want to just make sure everyone knows which version they can get your stories out of. So Fran, I know you just said yours, but I want to make sure people know again. So it's
82, just in case you forgot. No.
So Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul is Fran's story, and the title is Say Yes. And Barry, tell everyone again what yours was.
My book is A Cup of Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's half size. So A Cup of Chicken Soup for the Soul. So all the stories in the book are only 2 pages long. And so if it's not exciting, you can just flip the page,
And
no
didn't
heart
you
stories in there?
Pardon?
Your heart story is in that book.
Oh yeah, my heart. Again, when you look at this book, it's written by Jack, Mark, and me. I was the one who put this book together. So I was very blessed to be a part of it.
So inspiring. So inspiring. Okay, we're going to take a quick moment and just be reminded about the Tour of Love that will be coming again at some point here. And you might see a familiar face in this video, but keep your eyes open for the Tour of Love. And here's a little bit more about it.
The word is out. The Tour of Love show is coming back.
Let me tell you, with our amazing reach and the success with our international audience, E360 TV is excited to have us back.
And boy, could the world use some higher vibes now.
Today, more than ever, people are feeling the pain. They're feeling like, what is going on, and love can absolutely change the world.
Raising the frequency through love.
Oh, hi, I'm Fran Capo, the Guinness Book of World Records fastest talking female in the world. I also hold 9 world records. I did a book signing on top of Kilimanjaro down by the wreck site of the Titanic. I've written 22 books. I'm a comic. I do a lot of things. But the thing that I'm really excited about now is that I am joining the Tour of Love. And I am going to be joining it with a lot of talented people.
It's that energy that connects us to dreams, our imagination, our faith. It's about being love connected. It's joy, love, laughter. It's the love in finding our purpose and why we're here at this time. It's finding the love along the journey, trusting the destination will be determined by each step.
I mean, my philosophy is live every day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right.
If you're ready to join us on this journey, well, the time is now, and the need is now. It's time for the Tour of Love show.
Fran, I love that joke.
I was going to be in there.
yeah, you're in there. Oh, I want to just remind our audience that we so appreciate you. We've been seeing the comments come through the chat left and right from Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, all of that. Thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate your interaction and appreciation, hopefully, of the show. So good to have you here. So let's move on to another one of our awesome authors here. Kathleen, I'm going to move over to you, and Charmaine, we're going to end with you because I know you have also a beautiful story, and all your stories are wonderful, but I know Charmaine's for sure. So, okay, Kathleen, I'm going to put you in the mush pot, and we want to hear how did you come to be in the book, and then tell us your story.
Well, I split my time between Wisconsin and Arizona, and I was doing some writing in both states, and so I joined some writing groups. And in my writing group in Wisconsin, one of the other attendees had said, you know what, I think your stories or this particular story would really be a good fit for Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I didn't know too much about it, but she was explaining about the types of stories. And so I then picked up a couple books and I started reading them, and I thought, you know what, she might be right. I think that this might fit in. So my book or my story is in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Attitude of Gratitude. And what happened was my husband and I split our time between Wisconsin and Arizona. And we decided that we needed to downsize a little bit because we had, 2 houses, and all of this was a little bit much for us as we were aging. And we decided to sell our lake home in Wisconsin and just purchase a condo. So it would be lock and leave. And as we were going through all of the different items that we had, we gave away to our children some of the things that they would like. And we donated some things, sold some furniture. But we started to go through all of our photo albums and all of the memorabilia that we had. And he and I were sitting, my husband and I were sitting down, and we were going through, picture after picture and looking at we have 2 sons, our sons in sports and as they're growing up. And one of the pictures really stood out to me. And that was with my 6-year-old son and his best friend. And they were standing right next to this Honda Civic that we owned. And I turned to my husband and I said, do you remember when we had, Craig and his friend Scott in this Honda Civic? And he said, oh, I remember that story. We're on our way to church. I hit a deer. I totaled the car. And I said, oh, I just had the transmission fixed on the car. And our son's friend said, well, I wouldn't have gone and done that if I was going to hit a deer. And we started laughing about how what an innocent remark that was. But at the time, it was just kind of like digging in a little bit. But we went through picture after picture, and we saw all of the celebrations. We had some sad times sprinkled in there as well. But we thought about how our life has grown. But what really struck us was that the memories and the time together and the spending the time together, and not all of the items that we had, but spending the time together. And after a while, my husband stood up and he decided to take on another project. And he put his hands on my shoulders. I still remember that. And he kissed the top of my head. And he says, you know what? This really cements the fact that we're going on to the next chapter of our life. We've got more yesterdays than tomorrows. And then he went on to do his next project. And I know that it sounds sad, but the way he said it was not sad at all. It was just very matter of fact. And I thought, you know what? He's right. We have more yesterdays than tomorrows. And we look at all of these yesterdays through our memories and through our times together and spending the time together. And I think that's what we need to focus on with our tomorrows. Do I really need a Christmas ornament of something to remind me of a trip that we took? And this past early fall, we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. And the best part about it was, thank you, the best part about not only spending the 50 years with my husband, but our sons and daughter-in-law asked us what we would like to do special for our anniversary. Do we want a big party? Do we want to invite 100 people or whatever? And I was kind of like, no, not really. And they said, okay, we've got the perfect gift for you. And so they planned a family vacation in Anna Maria Island in Florida. And so we spent a week with our 4 grandchildren, our 2 sons, our daughter-in-law, and it was the most incredible time. We all bonded. We had so much fun. We had so much laughter and love. The grandkids had been there before, and they're saying, ooh, Grandma, I know where the best donuts are. And ooh, Grandma, I know where you can find the best. And so it was just incredible. And again, it was creating these memories rather than purchasing some item that would say 50th wedding anniversary or something like that. It was just our time together. And I thought, you know what, for as many tomorrows as we have, and who knows how many tomorrows we're going to have, let's make the most of it. And let's create as many memories as we can for one another. And let's create as many memories as we can for our sons and our daughter-in-law and our grandkids. And let's just enjoy what we have. So my story is called More Yesterdays Than Tomorrows, and it's in attitude of gratitude. And I have a lot of gratitude for what my life has been so far.
Oh, that's wonderful, Kathleen. Thank you for sharing that with us. That absolutely highlights the relevance of being in the present moment and really savoring all those little moments that Barry was mentioning earlier, right, with our loved ones, and really cherishing them and maximizing them.
Yeah. And that's how I felt. It was just, you're looking at everything around you, but those are just items. But what really sticks with you is the time that you spend with those that you love.
Yeah. And yours was just published. It was just last fall, right? In 2022?
2022. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Show everyone again the book that yours is in. So just to bring it to mind again, Attitude of Gratitude.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, Charmaine, let's hear Charmaine's story. Now I'm going to put you in the mush pot.
Thank you.
There we go.
Well, my story is called Volunteering from the Heart. It came out in Chicken Soup for the Soul, what I learned from the dog in 2009. And this was my first time really writing a book or into a book. And the story is based on our dog, Toby, who at the time was a 5-year-old Chesapeake Bay Retriever that we had adopted. And when we met him, he seemed awesome. He just seemed to fall in love with us, and we thought this is going to be great. Well, the first time that we came home after the garbage truck had been around, and you know how they have that beeping noise when it backs up? We came home and the house was destroyed. It was so bad that Chris thought someone had broken in. He couldn't even get in the house. Chris is my husband. He had to crawl in through the dog door to get into the house because there was mounds of stuff, clothing, a table, everything that was in the closet blocking the door. So that was the first time we thought, maybe we have an issue. And then we tried to crate train him. And remember, he's 5 years old, and he managed to chew the plastic around each pin and hole and stand up and just lift it off of the bottom. And we came home and he was sitting outside. Very smart dog. And then the real kicker was when we came home and there was bubbles everywhere. He had turned the bathroom tap on. He had a passion for locking himself in the bathroom and smashing toilet tank lids on the floor. He'd lift them up. We assume, we don't know, never nanny cammed it. We assume he lifted it up with his nose. It would fall on the floor and crash. So after replacing 12 toilet tank lids and being known at the Home Depot as the toilet tank lid people, we thought we should go get help. And we found a behaviorist. Her name was Maggie. And life changed in that moment. Life changed when we met Maggie, because she discovered just from one evening at our house with us and Toby that he was a dog who needed a job and a purpose. And I thought, where do you take a dog that breaks toilets for, a job? I don't even know.
And what kind of breed was he?
Chesapeake Bay Retriever. So big dog, like a lab, lovable, just a great dog, but had some issues. And she suggested that we get him tested as a therapy dog. And I was horrified. I was terrified, actually, because I thought, I don't even know what this means. I don't know how to do this. And we took him in, and on his second test with a different organization, the first one with one organization, he failed because he barked, and he had a booming bark. And the second organization that we took him to, he passed with flying colors. And that night he became a therapy dog. And every Wednesday for 4.5 years after that, we volunteered together at a psychiatric hospital in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He won awards for his service. He helped patients through situations that counseling and therapy was not having the same impact. And I got the honor of just holding the leash every Wednesday and watching him do his magic. And what I learned is that as he was finding his purpose and living in his, I was off finding my purpose and living in mine. And so that book came out in 2009, actually. I just have to share this funny story. We got a spring-loaded stamp, a rubber stamp made for him so that he could get this potograph. Potograph his book. And it was amazing. Fast forward a few years later, I was in a Success Principles training with Jack Canfield. And so he came to town and we did a double book signing. He had Success Principles. I had, by this time, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and then On Toby's Terms, a whole book about Toby. And so we got to sign together. But the best part was the video we created when he potographed a book for Jack Canfield. That was pretty cool. He inspired then 2 children's books that came out about his pet therapy role. And he inspired a kindness tour where we went the first time across a portion of Canada that was called Paws Across Canada. And then in 2015, we did our kindness tour, Million Acts of Kindness tour, with our second dog, Toby. Sadly, Toby 1 passed away when he was 11 after having presented to 10,000 plus students around the world, volunteering for 4 years and changing my life. So he was a special dog, and the new Toby in our life has no desire to do any of that. He just wants to hang with us and give me other things to write about. And what was really cool is when fast forward a few years later, I get this email that the story is being published again in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Canadian Acts of Kindness stories. So it was actually the same story in 2 books.
Congratulations, Charmaine. And thank you to Toby for his service.
Yes, I was just cleaning out a sort of my little special drawer, I call it, with all of my little keepsakes and all the cool things, my diaries from when I was a child. And in there was a book that all the patients in the hospital had given him on his last day of volunteering with them. And it's just emotional and beautiful, and just brought me back to just how much that dog impacted my life. Wow.
Oh,
and everybody else's.
And everybody else's. You're right, Fred. Absolutely.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I want to speak to our audience for a moment. Let us know what's really standing out for you from all these beautiful stories that we've heard so far. Our show is not over yet, but share with us what's really standing out for you, what might have meaning for you, or maybe is even making you remember, one of your own heartwarming stories, and just feeling, that deeper sense of connection to something that was meaningful for you in your life. I mean, every time we connect to our heart and what has meaning for us, we're able to feel more confident, to feel that sense of love and positive feelings again. There's so much benefit to that. So let us know in the chat what's coming up for you. I thank you to all, and Barbara's clapping for all of you. You guys can't see her, but she's down. I see her clapping and cheering all of you on. Oh, I love all of that. I'm going to segue, just take a moment to savor all of that. We're going to segue to a little video that our wonderful Barbara has created for us in honor of today's show. So let's take a moment to watch that. And here we're back. Thank you for that video, Barbara. I love those videos. They're so great. And we have with us Carolyn, who's saying, and I'm going to pop that up on the screen. Carolyn saying she feels the love. I feel the love. And Tamara with us saying, I am inspired to go and reread some of my Chicken Soup for the Soul books. Absolutely. And we have Helene. What is Helene saying? Helene is saying, volunteering is absolutely awesome. It impacts your life and can change you to grow more within you. Amen. Absolutely. Yeah. And we have here Eric with us, speaker Eric Swanson, saying rock and roll. That's right. Okay, go for it. Thank you for being here. Yeah, and I think I don't know all of our guests personally, but I think there's a volunteer spirit within all of our speakers today. Is that, I see heads nodding. Yeah.
Is there a lot of times when someone is watching a show like this, it's because they already feel that they like this. There's so much negativity in the world, and hear all these stories. It might have started from a place like in different, might have started in a place where you were like, me and my wife are not getting, how do we, change that? Or in my instance, just say yes. And then it led to a whole different shift in what I did for my career, and the volunteering, and your story too about what's important, the material. And everybody who's watching, I believe, can relate to any one of our stories in some way. And if they take that little nugget and they bring it home, whether everybody starts giving hearts out to people, or starts volunteering, or, starts spending more time, or, or just, says, hey, there's an opportunity, let me take it. It's all those type of nuggets that really make a difference. And that's what the Chicken Souls really, Chicken Soup series is so cool about.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that, Fran. And what also is highlighted for me through this is really having that intuition. And I just want to say, feeling guided to like, okay, I want to do this. I need to do this. This needs to come through. And I also get that from my recollection of how the Chicken Soup for the Soul series even started. Now, I don't remember verbatim, and some of you, or probably all of you, know this story as well. But I think it took him something like 120 something publishers that he went to to get the first one published, and they all said no, no one's going to want to read that. And finally, someone picked it up, and look where it is today now with so many versions and millions of copies sold. Barry, were you gonna? Did you have?
Yeah, I was going to add my own story, but from what I remember, Jack told me it was 133 letters saying this book isn't good enough, and then they walked the floor of the Chicago Book Exchange saying, "Hey, who'd like to read this?" And dozens and dozens and dozens said no, until Peter Begso from Health Communications said, "Hey, I'll take a shot at it," only because his company, he made his fortune in the 12-step movement, and a lot of his copyrights were expiring, and people were taking it. So he said, "You know what? You guys got a book. I need a," and so they put it together, and just that is a chicken soup story in itself. Just going together. Because Mark was in New York on a speech, and Peter was in, and they had not met. And Mark goes into St. Patrick's Cathedral and says a prayer, "Heavenly Father, we need somebody to publish our book." Peter, who I understand is Jewish, he decides he feels compelled the next week to go into St. Patrick's as well and say, "Heavenly Father, I don't know if you're real or not, but come on, we need some help." And then a week later, they meet in Chicago, and it worked out that way. So
yeah, I don't believe that's coincidence. See, I do believe always that if you put it out to the universe, whoever needs to receive it will. I mean, I've written 22 books, and one of my books, Hopeful the City of Light, was channeled to me, and that book wound up making number 11 on Amazon, but it was through a whole series of that type of me going, "Hey God, what do you want me to do with this book? You give it to me, you tell me I got to do something, tell me what I got to do. I don't want to be sweeping heaven because I didn't do my thing here on earth." So, it's that type of, like when you say doing it, but that's the stuff when you just tell that story. Anybody who's thinking of doing something and going, "Well, I tried 5 times, it didn't work." He tried 130 times. You can't give up at 5 times if you believe in your thing. You got to just say, "Not the right person, not the right person." The right person will come.
So true.
Well,
stories,
Kim, if you don't mind.
People.
Oh, go ahead, Charmaine.
I was just going to say, stories connect people. I've seen it time and time again as a speaker, but I remember doing a presentation at one school with Toby, and he'd had a busy work week, and he had his own little knapsack, and we put on the vest that he wore, and he's all ready to go in. He's kind of walking in like this, like, I'm excited but tired. And there was this little boy in one of the front rows in the gymnasium elementary class, an orange t-shirt on, the cutest cheeks. He just wanted to go like this, dude, just this big beaming smile. And Toby and him kept locking eyes, and the little boy would slide a piece of paper on the floor when I would walk close to him, and then he'd slide it back. And so, of course, I was so curious to know what is on the piece of paper. And the minute we were done, Toby literally, pulled the leash and bolted towards this little guy. Well, he was telling me that he wanted to be an author. And what he was sliding me was his manuscript, even new manuscript in grade 2. It was his manuscript of a little alien family, his family, that went on a vacation during the summer holidays to outer space. And so, he was so cute. He said, "One day I'm just going to sell this to, I don't know, maybe Disney." So, and so that story is forever etched in my mind because it reminded me, he was in grade 2. And he got it. And, he understood the importance of passion. I'm pretty sure I've watched movies now that are this little boy's production. He would be an adult or a teenager at least now. So I think that stories connect people, and Chicken Soup for the Soul. What I love about it is that you can read a story and on one day kind of say, "Isn't that a great story?" And then 2 or 3 or 4 years later, read it again. And it just, locks your heart. It just is what you needed in that moment.
Yeah.
I love that. It's not about the people who don't believe in you. It's about the people who do believe in you. And it all starts with you, and let that bridge the gap to keep you going. Yeah. Yeah.
Kim, do you mind if I add on to that?
Absolutely. We're nearing the end of the show, so we're going to have to start to wind down, but yeah, we have a few more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Remember I said Wednesday is our 43rd anniversary, but 2008, 2009, there was a huge flat spot, and we actually separated for 8 months. I moved out and everything like that. And then in a period of 18 months, I learned my ABCs: accident, bankruptcy, cancer, divorce, employee theft, all in 18 months. Now, I'm a God guy. All that got turned around. But when I went into the cancer hospital, they said, Barry, you have stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And the implication is you better get your affairs in order. And I just looked at the doctor and I said, I haven't had any affairs. And, you know, the nurse laughed her head off. The doctor's going, that's not funny. And I went, yes, it is. And so I was 36 days in Princess Margaret. And my goal was to make the nurses laugh every day because I was deeply sick. But even though we were separated, Karen came see me every single day. And when it was time for me to get discharged, because they said, we need your bed, she said, why don't you move back in with us and we'll take care of you until you get better, and then we'll figure things out. And in that space of we'll take care of you and we'll figure things out, we figured things out. And we never did get the divorce. So I'm a God guy, and I know that God turned everything around except the bankruptcy, because American Express called and said, Barry, please leave home without it. Like, don't take this card anymore. And so that was 2009. And then it was so cool because in 2016, American Express called and said, you want your cardigan? And I went, I don't need a sweater. A cardigan? What do I need a cardigan for? And they said, you want your cardigan? Oh, okay. So like we said, like when Barbara put her video together, she said resilience. And I think all of our stories are talking about resilience. So thank you, Barbara, for the video.
Yes,
and thank you, Kim, for letting me sneak in this plug for my amazing wife.
I'm so glad you brought it up. Thank you for sharing that with us. You know, cancer is an experience that I know many people have had, and, you know, people connected to this show. And just a quick plug for Tamara Hunter's organization, cb4l.org. If you or someone you know is experiencing cancer, cb4l.org is a nonprofit that helps people to not feel alone during their cancer journey. It's also known as Chemo Buddies for Life, but you're going to look it up at cb4l.org. And yeah, definitely check that out. We are nearing the end of today's conversation, and I don't want anyone to be too rushed with their final thoughts. So I want to start to get your final thoughts on today's conversation. This has been so wonderful. And I love, Barry, that you just mentioned resiliency, because I agree. I think that is a big thread through all of the stories, and to really keep everyone going. I'm going to start, you know, Kathleen, I'd love to get, what are your final thoughts as we begin to close out today's show?
I think that I learned a lot from the other panelists. I love the yes, you can attitude that Fran has, and the volunteering that that Charmaine, you know, put forth, and reminded me that yes, you do need to continue with your volunteer work, because I do some, but I think that I need to step it up a little bit. And of course, Barry, and remembering to always appreciate your spouse. And I think that I'll continue to do that. I've enjoyed my life so far, as I shared with all of you, and I'm going to continue and keep a focus on being grateful for those tomorrows that I have left, and I'll make the most of it, and hope that I can impact others and help them make the most of their days as well.
Thank you for speaking to that audience. Anybody who's in that space of feeling like there's more yesterdays than tomorrows, I think that they may be feeling alone, like they're forgotten. And I'm just grateful that you actually are speaking to anyone in that space. Fran, what are your final thoughts?
I have a lot of final thoughts. No, okay. So, well, okay. There's a lot of sayings that I have that I use, but one of the things I always say is live every day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right. And you don't want to be doing the laundry on that last day. And here's the thing is, I feel that sometimes people go through life, like what you were saying, more yesterdays than today. I always say I'm 37 till I'm 97 and sticking to it. But here's the reality. It's like so many times people are like, oh, I want to do something, but I'll do it when I retire. I'll do it when I lose weight. I'll do it when I'm like, God gave you this life. Enjoy it. The best thing you could do is to learn how to be happy, because that's really what we all want. You know, you could be happy helping someone, volunteering, saying a nice word to somebody, just doing something that you really love. And it doesn't have to be, you do the thing with the hearts. I do a thing where we call it the plane, P-L-A-N-E letter. So whoever goes like on a ride or go on a trip, we sneak a letter into the other person's bag. And it says all the things. Today you're going off to here. I love you this. and it'll say all the cool things about it. You just have to make sure that they find the letter, because one time my husband was on a business trip and someone else found my letter. And I was like, good thing it wasn't one of the sexy ones in pink. But anyway, but the point is, if every day you do something that you have something to look forward to, and you do something out of kindness and you make someone laugh, I think then that is a great day. Always find something to see positive in someone and let them know it. Don't keep it in your head like, wow, they look good today. Go up and tell them. You know, you love your kid, just text them. Hey, I love you so much, miss you. Just those little things make people so happy. And the whole chicken soup stories for the soul stories, that's what this is about. I came from this place, I'm at this place, and you could do it too. Nothing is impossible.
Oh, thank you for that, Fran. Absolutely. Okay. And Charmaine, what are your final thoughts?
Two short things. One is that just be open to the lessons and to recognize that the lessons that we need most in life might not come from a human. And it might be a dog like Toby. It could be someone you don't expect, like a human, but a grade 2 student. And the other lesson is to remember that kindness is not about having a putty-takey sheet. It's not about keeping track on an Excel chart. It's not about keeping score. It's what I just think the kindness is in us to give. So give lots.
Oh, thank you for that. That was beautiful. And Barry, final thoughts. We got to close out in just a moment here, but 30 seconds.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Yep. Just my goal every day is to wake up and say, Heavenly Father, help me make someone's day. In other words, for all of us, how do we develop those moments, even with strangers? Just like Fran was saying, like, hey, you look great today. Or may I have your permission to pay you a compliment in this day and age? Because if you say that, you could get arrested. But just celebrate those moments. And thank you on behalf of Jack and Mark and everyone who's ever bought or written a story for Chicken Soup for the Soul. Thank you so much, because look what a stir it created around the world. So
yeah,
keep that up.
Absolutely. Thank you to each of you. You guys were wonderful. I so appreciate you bringing your hope, heart, and humor to today's conversation. And to our audience, you guys were wonderful. Please do like, share, and all of that with today's show if you found value in it. And we will see you again for another episode of Let's Talk Fabulous very, very soon.
I want to say thank you for joining us today and welcome you back next Sunday as we once again are joined by a panel of subject matter experts that will explore and focus in on our fabulous lives. Until next Sunday.